Hi, I'm Sophie, and welcome to my world. You know, one of the things I love is that I get all of these suggestions from viewers. And one of the things that one of my viewers suggested was covering notebooks, but adding pockets to keep their stuff, you know, like pencils and rulers and that kind of stuff. And so I have come up with a really fun project, and that is to put pockets on my notebook. So not only do I get to cover my notebook and make it whatever colors and patterns I like, gussy it up a bit, but I can have all of my supplies right at hand so that I never lose them. Now, let me show you what we're going to do. I'm going to move these off to the side because we don't need these for right now. You can design your notebook any way you want with whatever pockets work for you. But I'm going to design one that's going to have a pocket for a calculator and some pencils. First thing you're going to need is some scissors, some duct tape, whatever it is that you're going to want to go in the pockets. That's very important. You're going to, of course, need a notebook, and if you can make them ahead of time, a few sheets of duct tape fabric. You want them about the size of your notebook, the width of your notebook. You could make one that's the entire size of your notebook and then trim and cut. But I've just got a couple pieces. These are left over from other projects. So I thought, well, I'll just use these for this. So now what I'm going to first do, I love this one, it has penguins on it. I'm going to cover up my penguins, sad to say. First thing I'm going to do is measure my tape. And I'm going to make it so that it's going to be a little bit longer than my notebook. And you'll see why in just a second here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to cover the wire part here because I want the cover to open easily and all the papers inside to open easily. If I put the tape right here, it won't do that. So I'm going to give myself about 1/8 of an inch. I'm just going to place it right next to that wire edge. Now you could do this too with you know, one of those spiral bound notebooks, you know, the big ones that open up. But this one, or this is spiral bound, I guess, but what I mean is one of those big notebooks. You can still do this with any kind of notebook. Okay, I'm going to fold these edges in, like this. Now, don't get worried if it's raggy-taggy, because you're going to come back and seal that. All right, now I've got some pieces that are already cut. I'm just going to lay them on top. Now, just like I do with all of my other duct tape projects, I'm going to overlap. You can see I've overlapped by 1/8 of an inch here. Now the thing about it is I don't have to get too crazy. Like when I do my normal duct tape fabric, I usually like to give myself at least 1/4 of an inch. Because I've got a backer here, because I've got this cover, I don't have to get too tense about how much I overlap, because these aren't really holding themselves together. They're adhering to the cover. Okay, now you'll notice I've got less cover here than I'm going to have tape. That's okay, don't worry about that. So what I'm going to do is take my piece of tape and I'm going to lay it so that it overhangs like that. Now I'm going to open this up, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold in all these little edges. Hold off on the last one here. You'll see why in just a second. Okay, and fold it in. And fold it in. Okay, now what I want to do at the corners, and this is just the little tricky part. See this corner? If I fold this down, it's going to seal this edge. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I want to take my scissors and give a little tiny snip right here. Unfortunately, my scissors are a little bit gunky, so I'm going to rip it. There we go. Rip it there, and rip it there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this end first. There we go. Fold that in. Now I can fold this end up. Make that nice and neat. And I'm not going to get too worried about this. That didn't end up very neat there. But that's okay because it's going to get covered and cut. Okay, now I'm going to close this. When I close this, I can fold this over and this end over. Now some notebooks have like a rounded edge to them, so if they do, you can come back and give it a trim like that. Now this end got a little gunked up, so what I'm actually going to do is fold this over on itself so that I can get myself a nice clean cut. Sometimes with scissors and duct tape, the scissors get gunked up by the glue that's on the tape. And if you haven't cleaned your scissors, as I unfortunately forgot to do before we shot this, they don't cut very well. So it's best if you're cutting duct tape to duct tape. There we go. Okay, now my cover is covered. Now what I want to do is add my pockets. Now, I've got to figure out where I want to put everything. So I'm going to lay it out just so I know. I think I want to put my pencils here. My pen. Probably don't use pens too much in math, but just in case. Okay, so I've got my pencils there, and I think I want to put my calculator right about there. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is take my piece of fabric. Now, one thing that I do want to do as I realize this is I want to leave myself enough space on the side here. I don't want to get too close. So I'm actually going to put what I'm going to do is put my calculator right there. So I've got this nice piece of fabric that is just about the right size. And you can see that's about where the pocket should be. So see that? I've sized it to about the size that I need. So I'm just going to fold that up. Just going to trim this right across. Okay. And now I can use a fun embellishment tape here. So for my embellishment tape, I'm going to measure, give it a little rip. Now I'm going to only need half of this. So I'm going to rip it down the center in half. As you know, I am a ripper, but lots of people like to cut. So feel free to cut. You get a nicer edge, of course, when you cut. I just like ripping tape. It's easier for me. Okay, so now I've secured the bottom so that this sticks in there nicely. And now I'm going to remove this, lay it flat, and I'm going to do my side pieces. Now I don't have to do my top, so what I'm going to do is just go right to this edge here. And what I want to try to do here is actually go up and over the edge of the book. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to make sure that my pocket doesn't pull out. My pocket doesn't pull off. You see this? So this is giving me some extra. It's giving me lots of extra so that this is nice and strong right there. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I've given myself a little extra there, see? And remember, don't get too worried about the inside here because we're going to make that look nice and neat in just a second. Ripping in half, or you could cut it in half. Lay this nice and flat. Now, don't be worried if there's a little pooch there. That's okay because you want to have a place to put your calculator. Okay, I'm going to fold that over. And now my calculator fits just fine. Now, because I made this part, this is a big calculator, and because I made this big part so that it'll hold that really nicely, I'm going to make my pencils go sideways. And it should be fine, because as long as my pouch is tight, it'll keep my pencils in place. So for my pouch, for my pencils, it looks like I might be able to just use this extra piece that I cut off here. And I don't have to get too worried about trimming it too much because it's going to get covered. Okay, so I want to leave some space for my pencils to stick out. So I'm going to cut that here. Now, remember, I'm going to do them sideways. So take that like that. This time, I'm going to make sure that my tape goes off the page this way, because this is where I'm going to put my pencils in. So wherever you're putting your pencils or whatever it is that you're putting in there, erasers or whatever, you want to make sure that you're always taping over and giving extra. That's going to keep it nice and strong. Okay, now I'm going to do it again. And let's test to make sure that my pencil fits. Yeah, look how nice and snug that is. That's going to keep my pencil nice and tight in place. And again, I'm going to cover this end and take it up and in. I'm going to open it up. I don't need to have all that tape in there. I'm going to go like that. Okay, so now I've got my pencils. I might even be able to get two in here. There we go. I got my pencils. They're nice and secured. I've got my calculator. It's nice and secured. Now the only thing I want to do is just clean this up. Now, you don't have to go crazy. If you don't want to clean this up, you don't have to clean this up. You might even want to add just another pocket in here if you wanted to, just for papers or something like that, or homework assignments. You could stick them in a little pocket. If you want to do that, all you got to do is trim this side of your duct tape fabric. You're going to want to make sure, remember, that it's always inside of your spiral, because you want to make sure that you can open your notebook. So I'm going to make sure that I have enough tape area. So I need to make this a little bit tinier, a little bit smaller. There we go. So I could fold my homework assignment and put it in there like that, or my homework assignment sheet. Okay, there we go. So maybe back here, I'll just use some orange. Ripped in half. Now I'm actually going to not pull this up and over the front because I've got such a fun design going on the front. I don't want to mess it up. Once again, remember, inside, don't go on that spiral. I'll just take this up there, up to the top there, bring it across the bottom. Ba-ba-da. You can see it's already starting to clean it up in the back here. There we go. It's not quite big enough. Get another piece here. And put that right there. Seal it off. And now I can put my papers. There we go. Papers in there. Now I want to make sure that this stays nice and secure, so I'm just going to seal that there. And now to seal this piece of paper, excuse me, piece of tape, I'm going to put this extra piece of tape over top of it. That's going to keep this from pulling up. And I can just finish it off here. I think I got enough little pieces here to finish it off. Make it look nice and neat on the inside. Yep, I think I have just enough. Look at that. There we go. And there you have it. Now I have a place to put my homework assignments, a place for my calculator, and a place for my pencil. And there you have it. So for more ideas to take to school and gussy up your exciting notebooks, come and check us out at Sophie-World.com.